Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and for those of you that are watching this from my newsletter, you are getting this well in advance of the full moon in Aries at the end of the month. So for those of you that are watching this on my regular YouTube channel, welcome back. And you are getting this around the week of the actual full moon. So I'm going to share my screen and jump right in here. And so for this full moon, this is, it's not an eclipse, but it's going to feel like one. I have a feeling it's going to, because Mars at this full moon is at 21 degrees, which is where that first solar eclipse is going to be, and this Mars activates, that point, that degree is sensitive, and Mars is activating that, so it's activating letting go, with the South Node, taking action on letting go or cutting something out. This could be relationship thing, especially with the moon being in Aries. This could definitely see big changes in terms of emotionally in the moment. We are definitely going to be fired up. This is, a fire moon, so there's hot emotions, intense emotions, and people are just going to be really fired up about what's going on here. And with Mars being what's called the dispositor, or the planet that rules the sign that the full moon is happening in, is with the South Node. It's also with the Sun. So there could definitely be some things that we are cutting out, letting go of, or even situations or scenarios that are coming up from our past, or even karmic things from our past that are coming up for fulfillment, completion, finalization, and letting go. This full moon is in the very beginning degrees of the sign, so this reevaluation is on something that we've just started out on, right? So this isn't at the end degrees or the mid degrees, where it's more like continue on with the mid degrees, or we're really finishing something up and wrapping something up. Yes, this is like a finishing and wrapping up energy, but it's wrapping up the first stages. And that's how I'm looking at this full moon, is that we're wrapping up the first stages of something. We're reevaluating what it is that we're doing, and we are going to move through it rather quickly, because this is in Aries. Mars is in its detriment in Libra. Unfortunately, at the time of this, it is activating that South Node eclipse, and by that time Mars will have moved on into Scorpio, a home sign, so that's a good thing. Mars tends to like being in its home sign, either Aries or Scorpio, but it does not like being in Libra. We could definitely see some Mars in Libra tends to be very justice oriented and balance oriented. So if it's not balanced and it's not right, that could be why we're feeling really fired up, and it's time to let something go. It's time to cut something out of our lives with that South Node there as well with Mars. With the moon, with the North Node, this is definitely, and Chiron, it's not a feel-good moon by any stretch of the imagination. It's definitely going to be one that is a little bit more volatile, a little bit more emotionally intense. Full moon itself, the sun is with Mars. There are some really harmonious things going on, but largely this this full moon is technically unaspected by major aspects, because there are many planets at the end degrees and not so many planets at the beginning degrees, right, that are in either trine or sextile or anything like that. So it's almost like we feel not alone, because obviously it's not a moon that's by itself in the sky. Saturn and Jupiter are there kind of sandwiching it between, but it's definitely more of like an independent kind of energy, where it's you need to forge your own path. You need to go ahead with something. You need to cut something out of your life, whether it be a relationship, a situationship, whether it be a person, a place, a thing. Something is being cut out of our lives at this time. So, and there's definitely an activation of this eclipse. There's also something that we're not seeing yet, because the eclipse has not occurred. So something is definitely being activated in terms of the upcoming eclipses. And I know I'm harping on this, but I want to make it very clear that it's not an eclipse, but it's probably going to feel like one. You know, Mars, Mars is in a really nice sextile with Venus, and it's in a wide trine with Saturn in Pisces. But the sextile to Venus is a really nice one because it's about working harmoniously and through leadership qualities. Venus is supporting Mars in her home sign, so Mars is receiving aspects from Venus in her home sign of Libra. So it's a supportive energy. It's one that you have to activate though, so you need to work with other people, either working with someone that's in a position of power, because you know it is Leo. Venus is in Leo. It is very much that authority figure kind of energy, but someone that leads through example or leads with their heart. That's definitely an example of a positive Leo leader or authority figure. Venus is also squaring Uranus at this time, which is the last square that Venus is going to make to Uranus, and that's quite intense because this is coming exact on this same day. This is definitely going to be adding into the tumultuousness of this full moon, and why I said also it's going to feel like an eclipse, because the nodes are being activated with this full moon with Mars, and Uranus is active with Venus in square, so it's definitely going to be a little bit more volatile, a little bit more out of the box, and a little bit more disruptive, because as we saw with this Venus retrograde, when Venus stationed to go retrograde in square with Uranus, things were very weird and things were not the way a normal Venus retrograde without that hard aspect to Uranus. Right, it was a very strange, very intense Venus retrograde, but we are liberated. We are, you know, free of any stuck stagnancy that we had here before this Venus retrograde. The other thing that's going on is that Mars is moving towards that exact square with Pluto at this time. Again, this is why I'm saying it's going to be very eclipse-like and disruptive, because Mars in square with Pluto, this can be really harsh words, and you know, the mitigating factor is that we do have Uranus in trine and Neptune in sextile with Pluto. That could be a mitigating force. An action. Mars doesn't take action very well in Libra, so that's definitely not good for Mars, but it is moving towards that trine with Saturn, so that is a little bit of a mitigating force. Even though, you know, both planets are malefic, it's still a trine, so it's more positive energy. We can take solid action, right? Solid being Saturn, action being Mars. We can take solid action, and once Mars moves on and makes that trine from Scorpio, we can take solid emotional action on the things that we need to do. At this time as well, during this full moon, Mercury is in trine with Uranus and, you know, a little bit widely Jupiter. So this could definitely see communication and conversations. Mercury is also direct now and getting ready to move out of its shadow. Very close to moving out of its shadow at this time. So it's definitely a really nice energy in terms of communicating the big picture, communicating things that may be a little bit out of norm, but being able to do that in a way that it could be received well. The only thing that's going on here too that could be a little bit wonky or weird would be Mercury being opposed to Neptune, because Neptune, you know, kind of fogs things up a bit. It also is very diffusive. It diffuses things, so our mental clarity might not be where it needs to be until Mercury moves on. Mercury is in its home sign, you know, traditional exaltation, modern home sign, so it is stronger, and the sun has moved out of Virgo, so it's far enough away where we can see Mercury, and our thinking can be clear at this time as well. Just because it is visible, you can see it in the sky, and that's what a lot of traditional, older astrologers would do, is they would look to the sky to see if the planet's visible or not, which it is, so that's good. Yeah, so that is what I have for you for the general forecast. Okay, so for Aries and Aries rising, now we're getting into the regular forecast. This full moon is highlighting you. So for Aries, Aries sun, Aries rising, whether or not, you want to listen to your moon sign, that's more of an internal subjective reality, which you'll be feeling this for sure because you'll have a full moon in your lunar return for the next month. This is a heightened kind of, you yourself could be heightened emotionally. You could be feeling really intense emotions at the time of this full moon. There is that energy of cutting away too of a partner. Maybe you are cutting a partner out of your life, or there's someone leaving your life, or someone that is coming back in to be reintegrated into your life. That could be a thing. But this full moon, you're going to feel really emotional because of a partnership, or because of a spouse, or because of a business partner, or a long-term friendship. It's unavoidable. Mars is activating that eclipse energy at 21 degrees. And so I do kind of think that there's maybe action that needs to be taken to begin the process of finalizing and cutting someone out of your life, or something, right? So that can be a thing, especially with Mars, with that south node and activating that eclipse point. This is not the greatest full moon by far that's been around for the year, but it's not the worst one either. Venus is now direct and moving very close to being out of shadow. Mercury is also now direct and moving out of shadow. So during this full moon, there's definitely nicer energy. Mercury is in trine with Pluto and Uranus, and so this could definitely bode really well in terms of your finances, your health, your wellness, your daily routines. Like, these are better areas, right? And so the other part of this is also your career and your public standing and public reputation are being transformed. So this is kind of really nice energy. This is almost like a reactivation of that Virgo new moon that we had earlier in the month, but it's and there's kind of something that's coming to fulfillment and fruition from that, but it's definitely, now things have changed, and now with this full moon in your first house, you are being illuminated. Your emotional world is being illuminated. Your physical body is being illuminated. So you could definitely be feeling this one with Mars in square, moving towards that exact square with Pluto. This could definitely be really intense in terms of like your relationships, whether or not you're cutting them out or reintegrating someone back in, and your public standing and public reputation. So there's definitely something going on there that's really intense. This could be power struggles, this could be arguments, this could be disputes, this could be for some, it could be someone is literally leaving your life and they're never coming back, whether or not this is you saying so and you're never going to allow them back in, or whether or not this is like something, something happens. That can also be a thing, especially with Pluto up there in the 10th and Mars being with the south node. This is really intense energy. And then the sextile, though, with Venus is actually really nice. So this is Venus in sextile with Mars. Mars is being supported by Venus from, in her home sign of Libra. So Mars is receiving an aspect from the ruler of the sign that it's in. So that's a positive. It's a supportive one. It gives Mars a little bit more support, a little bit more energy to say, okay, I can do what I need to do here. Because it is a sextile, it is supportive. It's not, it's not a trine, it's not a conjunction, but it's, it's still support for Mars being in Libra. And then with this, this Uranus in square with Venus, this could definitely have to do with finances and children, or finances and hobbies, either wild wins or wild losses. It could be, you know, maybe gambling. Venus in Leo is very creative. So I do wonder if there's not a payout for some creative endeavor endeavor that you're doing, and all of that as well. So that is what I have for you. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising. So this full moon is happening in your 12th house, which puts the sun in your 6th house and Mars in your 6th house. You're probably not going to be getting a lot of rest, Taurus, because this is a very, having the moon illuminating your 12th house, you know, there's light there, there's action there. The moon, you could be losing sleep over like intense emotions, right? You could also be losing sleep over work, or maybe working too hard. So I would say be careful about what it is that you're doing, and you want to try to balance this energy, right? It is a full moon. It is, you know, balancing the energy of me versus them, or of what I'm doing versus what I need to do, that kind of thing. So with this full moon, definitely take care of your body, take care of yourself. And with the nodes here too, and Mars activating that eclipse, I would definitely say there could be things that are coming up either with your job, with your daily routine, with people, places, and things that are in your daily routine. And so there's definitely something there that's going on, even your health and your wellness and your well-being. Just be sure you're getting enough rest and you're kind of balancing the hard work and the rest during this full moon specifically. The positive areas to look at are, you know, the trines that Mercury is having with Pluto and Uranus. This is really nice energy. It's supportive energy, but it's not kind of the biggest energy, because Mars is also squaring Pluto in the 9th house to the 6th. So there's definitely some intense energy going on either with your work, maybe even travel for work, or you know, educational pursuits or something like that, or even your worldview could fall under this too, under the 9th house as well. So there could be arguments and disputes at work over who sees what as what, or something like that. Maybe stay out of the political or religious conversations at work, if that's applicable to you. And then Venus in the 4th house, while not overly, you know, bad, it is squaring Uranus in your sign. There could be some disruptions. Maybe you're causing disruptions with people that live with you on the home front. It's not the worst energy in the world, because Venus is making an aspect to Uranus in another one of her home signs of Taurus. So this is also your chart ruler. So your focus could be on being home, but maybe being home in a weird and different way. For some of you, a select few of you, you could be injured, and that's why you're at home. So just be careful. Or you could be injured at home. Maybe if you're working on things to do with the home, just be careful. Like I said, be careful with your body. That's what I have for you. And then we have Gemini and Gemini rising. So for Geminis, this is actually hitting you kind of nicely. This full moon won't necessarily be as, you know, as intense for you as it will be for some of the other signs, because the sun and Mars are in trine with your ascendant, sextile with your descendant. Same thing for the moon. The moon is in sextile with your ascendant, trine with your descendant. So this could be even the fulfillment, completion, finalization, or realization of future goals, orientations, things that you adhere yourself to, or things that you align yourself with in terms of groups of people, or you know, philanthropic goals as well. This could also be like your social status and where you want to climb to. Maybe you've climbed to a specific social status, or you've been working really hard to get to a specific social status, and that's what's going on here, and you're seeing that fulfillment and completion. The other thing that's going on though is, you know, Mars is activating that eclipse point for you in the 5th house. And Mars is kind of an intense energy. It's, you know, there could be kind of that needing to rebalance what you're doing in terms of your hopes, wishes, or dreams, or the alignments with the people that you align yourself with. and your children, or things that bring you joy, or hobbies and your creativity and things like that. You need to rebalance a little bit. That could be a thing here as well. It could even be letting go of a hobby or something that you love to do just because you love to do it. Mars does rule your 6th house of work. Some of you could even be letting go of a job, or some of you could be reintegrating something from the past into your work that you love to do. That could be a thing. You know, with Venus squaring Uranus, let's talk about Mars squaring Pluto. So Mars is squaring Pluto in the 8th house. If you're divorced and you have children, this might not bode well in terms of custody, or you know, money coming in from an outside source like alimony or child support or things like that. There could definitely be something going on, maybe some nefarious things going on with that. Again, specific subset. For others of you, this could be a power struggle with a creative project that you're working on. If you're trying to get a grant or get money, there could be power struggles there as well. Just because, you know, Pluto is in the 8th house, and if you're, yeah, it could be something like that as well. With Uranus squaring Venus from the 3rd and the 12th, there's definitely, like, your sleep is very disrupted, but you could be getting downloads. You could be, the reason it's disrupted is because you keep getting downloads and downloads and downloads and downloads and downloads, especially with Jupiter here. But having Venus, you know, in the 3rd house, maybe you're communicating, you know, something, maybe even you get a download and you're communicating that to your children, or to, you know, a romantic partner or a boyfriend, girlfriend kind of energy like that. You could be communicating with someone, or your children are communicating with you about something, and it really kind of puts you on edge and disrupts you a little bit. That could be a thing as well. You know, the really nice energy is the energy of Mercury in trine with Pluto and Uranus as well. So home life might feel better than anything else, except for that opposition to Neptune, which maybe there's some confusion and cloudiness, with a chance of meatballs going on, with that 10th house Neptune opposition there with Mercury. But that's neither here nor there, because of all those trines, that you'll feel the opposition more. Like, there could be confusion or changes going on at work as well, or with a boss or an authority figure. Okay, and then Cancer and Cancer rising. This full moon is happening, you know, in your 10th house. It's squaring your ascendant and descendant. This is happening up in your public sphere, in the public sector of your house. Whereas maybe with the sun transiting here to the 4th house, you've been focused more on home and family, property, place of living, things like that. There could be something karmic that comes up in terms of your career and public standing, in terms of how people know you out in the world, the legacy that you want to leave behind. There could be something that you're letting go of, even like on the home front, or it could be you're letting go of, you know, if this is applicable to you, you could be letting go of a parent, you could be letting go of a pet, you could be letting go of something here, even a place of living. You could be letting go of that. You're cutting it out of your life to make more room for, you know, a different place of living. There could be even be things going on in the home front that cause you to have to spend money on it, because of that sextile there, but it's not in a bad way. And Venus is in trine, you know, with as the moon moves through Aries. Obviously this is well past the full moon, but as the moon moves through Aries, it's going to be in trine with Venus now direct. You know, Mars definitely in that 4th house is activating that eclipse energy. Like I said, there could be power struggles in terms of contracts, agreements, negotiations, you know, signing on the dotted line, making things official. There could be power struggles, or there could be negotiations going on, and maybe they're a little bit more intense than what you want them to be. That could definitely be a thing here. And then with Venus squaring Uranus in the 2nd and in the 11th house, there could definitely be some wild changes in terms of your finances, which have probably been ongoing anyway, especially with Venus transiting here, and going retrograde in your 2nd house of money. but also the people that you align yourself with by choice. So there could definitely be some wild swings in what's going on here. And, you know, you could be having people come in and go out in terms of your friends and friends groups, or people that you align yourself with by choice coming and going, and this is creating havoc in terms of your money situation, especially because the 11th house is also your hopes, your wishes, your dreams, you know, your aspirations, the future planning that you're doing. There could definitely be some wild swings with Uranus here, you know, kind of making things a little crazy. So this is the final time that Venus will square, so that's a good thing. And the positive, you know, things in life would come from Mercury in the 3rd house, now direct, moving on from its shadow period, in trine with Pluto in the 7th house and in trine with Uranus in the 11th. So while there is kind of issues, right, aspecting these different planets in these different houses, there's still mitigating forces. And so if you lean into the mitigating forces, you can course correct for the things that are kind of being thrown out of whack, or the intense situations or the wild swings with money and finances and things like that. That is what I have for Cancer. And then for Leo and Leo rising, so this full moon is happening in your 9th house of travel, of educational pursuit, of worldview, of, you know, your religious dogma, or any dogma really is in the 9th house. So there's definitely some things going on here in terms of fulfillment, completion, finalization. There could be, you know, with the sun and moon in opposition, there could be a little bit of a power struggle of like little picture, big picture kind of energy, and trying to fit those big pieces emotionally in. It's definitely a nicer moon energy for you because it's in trine with your ascendant, in sextile with your descendant. The sun is the same with Mars, though there could be intense conversations going on just because Mars is a planet of, you know, it is an inflammatory planet, so it's definitely, it heats things up, it makes things move faster. You could be speaking quickly, you could be driving quickly, be careful. Because Mars is activating that eclipse point that's coming up here in October at the time of this full moon in Aries. And so there's definitely some really interesting, very karmic developments that are happening. You know, Mars with the South Node, but it's ruling where the North Node is. It's almost like a reintegration of something, or you have to integrate something from your past in order to get to that next step in that future that you want here. Or it could even be having to cut out a way of thinking, having to cut out a way of speaking, or even if you run a small business, this could even be having to, or even a vehicle, right? Like it could be like, just be careful with vehicles with Mars here, and especially with it activating that eclipse point quite heavily with Mars there, and the South Node is there. So just be aware. And your chart ruler is here as well, right? Because the sun rules you. Yeah, so there's definitely some oppositional forces going on here, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Largely, the full moon itself is unaspected until the moon moves further into Aries. But at this time, Mars is squaring Pluto, Venus is squaring Uranus, so there could be arguments or disputes when it comes to your work, your daily routine, what you're doing every single day. This could even be action or even speaking on health matters, or this could be action or having to transform, you know, through conversation, your personal health, your personal routines, you know, the schedule that you stick to every day or not. That could be a thing too, where maybe you need to talk about what it is that you have to do in order to change your schedule, or there could be, you know, arguments or disputes with colleagues or coworkers or things like that. That could be a thing as well. With Venus squaring Uranus, you know, Uranus is up there in your 10th house. It's been there for a while. Venus just finished out her retrograde cycle and is now moving forward. She's still in shadow, but she's moving on. She's direct. And so anything that was going on when Venus hit came to this spot the first time, you know, is going to be finalized and put to bed. This Venus retrograde has been kind of a very interesting one. It's been a little bit more intense. It's been a little bit more wild than usual. So there's definitely some interesting things that are coming up to be smoothed over. There could be even changes in how it is that you're known out in the world, whether or not this is through your, you know, through your career, your public standing, your public reputation. You're making these changes, and they're very radical, and they're very different than what you would otherwise be doing, if that makes sense. So that is what I have for Leos. Virgo and Virgo rising, you know, this full moon is happening in your second or in your 8th house. So what's being highlighted is joint resources. Also, you know, psychological insecurities, things like that are being highlighted. There is Chiron here as well, and the North Node. So you're going to see a lot of wild changes anyway over the coming, you know, couple of years that we have eclipses here in the 2nd and in the 8th house. So there's things that are happening, things that are unfolding, you know, at this full moon time, especially because Mars is activating that South Node eclipse that's coming up next month. There is definitely something going on here in terms of finances, joint finances, your finances, money that you spend. There could be a resource that's being cut away from you, or you are cutting a resource out. However it plays out, there's something very karmic about it and something very fated, especially with the South Node. So with Mars activating that eclipse, expect the unexpected when it comes to your resources. Just be careful with spending too much money right now, because there's something that could be highlighted with a partner's resources as well, or something that's being highlighted with debt or taxes or inheritance of some kind could be highlighted here, or even insurance money. So this could be, for some of you, this could be a payout of something that you've been working on in terms of insurance. Maybe there was an insurance claim done and now you get a payout for it. Or there could be, you know, money coming in from an outside source, like a loan or credit cards or a grant. Things like that could be coming to fruition and coming. But with Chiron here, there's definitely a little bit of uncomfortability around it, a little bit of guilt and shame around how maybe something is being utilized, or even joint finances and stuff like that. The other thing that's going on too is that Mars and Pluto are in square with each other. This could definitely be, you know, a really intense argument or dispute with a child, or this could even be a dispute with a romantic partner, like a boyfriend or girlfriend kind of energy, if that's applicable to you. And so there's definitely some intensity there of finances, or even a hobby, something that you love to do just because you love to do it, could be costing you a little bit more money than what you, a little bit, it's Pluto, a lot more money than what it is that you thought it would, that, or something that you're not seeing yet, right? Venus also in the 12th house. I mean, Venus, hidden money, hidden enemies, things like that, you know, in the 12th house specifically, not necessarily what Venus represents, but Venus represents the money, but and relationships, like having a hidden relationship. Maybe you're having an affair, and you know, that could be a thing too. But with Venus, you know, being in the 12th house, this could be money that either you're hiding from yourself, or money that's being hidden from you, right? So you're hiding money, or money is being hidden from you. With that square to Uranus in the 9th house, there's definitely some wild and crazy things that are going on in terms of worldview, travel, you know, it's definitely, this has not been the greatest Venus retrograde squaring these planets. So there's definitely a fulfilling of and a smoothing over of whatever was going on for the last several months with Venus squaring this Uranus. But it's still not the greatest. It's going to liberate your mind and free you from the stuck, stagnant ways that you've been thinking, or maybe even free you from you know, the place that you're living. That could be a thing too with Jupiter, especially in the 9th house. and it rules your fourth house. But like there's definitely something going on here that's causing a ruckus in terms of either travel or, you know, self-sabotaging. Maybe you've been a little bit more indulgent and you've been spending more money on indulgent things, and now there's like something that you have to spend money on that comes out of the blue, out of nowhere. That could be a thing too with that square to Uranus and Venus in the 12th. You just don't see it coming. Well, actually, let's go back. Hold on. So we definitely want to talk about the fact that Mercury is your chart ruler, and it is in a really nice Earth trine with Uranus and Pluto. And so even though all of these intense things are going on with these other planets and these outer planets, Mercury is definitely, you're able to work with things, you're able to move through things, you're able to see things clearly. You know, with Mercury in trine to Pluto, this is very deep thought, this is understanding the truth. And with Uranus, this is very liberating on the mind and like very quick, very fast insights into what's going on and seeing the bigger picture for what it truly is. That's definitely a thing here. Okay, for you. And then for Libra and Libra rising, this full moon is happening in your 7th house. And so this full moon might be really emotionally intense for some of you specifically. This could even be litigation of some kind when it comes to court and being, you know, going to court or something like that. There's also, you know, relationships, all kinds of relationships are being highlighted for you with Mars ruling your relationship sector and being in your 1st house and activating that eclipse that's happening in your 1st house. You could be either starting a relationship or a new relationship, or having a relationship issue from the past come up again, if that makes sense. There could definitely be some issues there. But with Mars in the 1st house and the Sun in the 1st house, like you're definitely feeling more energetic and more energized. And with Mars here, you're feeling a lot more passionate, a lot more fired up. You could be angry. You could just as well be gung-ho and ready to take on the world and feeling vibrant and full of energy with Mars and the Sun both here in the 1st house. But this full moon is definitely highlighting your relationships and how you're relating to other people, going after maybe the relationships that you want, the fulfillment and the completion. Some of you could be getting married. Some of you could be getting divorced. Some of you could be, you know, talking with a lawyer, something like that, right? With that Chiron there too, with this full moon, it could definitely be uncomfortable, whatever's going on as well. With Mars in the 1st house squaring Pluto in the 4th, there's definitely some issues to do with the home. You know, Pluto comes in and kind of transforms everything. You know, this energy has been going on since 2008. But at these end degrees, it gets really intense, and the things that have not been transformed will be transformed. And with Mars in square with this, there could definitely be a cutting away of something to do with the home. You're cutting something out of the home, or there's something that's affecting you in terms of your home, your property, your place of living, your dwelling. Just be aware of that as well. And then with Venus, you know, Venus is your chart ruler. Venus is in square with Uranus in the 8th house. This is, again, what makes me think like court and all of that, because the 8th house can definitely see like monies, loans. There could be arguments over money and loans. That could definitely be a thing here. Jupiter is a protective quality, so don't think that it's, you know, Jupiter does expand on the issues or the debt that's going on, but it can also, you know, protect from worst case scenario and also help in certain instances. But squaring Venus, Uranus and Venus being square, there's definitely you know, friends and money don't always mix. I would be leery of that if I were you. Even though this is the last pass of it, I would still be leery about money and friends, or owing friends money, that type of thing as well. So that, oh, and the positive energy, you know, is Mercury in your 12th house, trining Pluto in your 4th house, and Uranus in your 8th house. This could definitely see, you know, very grounded, very rational, linear thinking, but also understanding things that are hidden, things that are behind the scenes. I mean, even some of you could be even doing magic at this time, or you're seeing something come to fruition that you did a while ago that has to do with magic as well, because the 8th house is also magic. 12th house is what's hidden, dreams, nightlife, you know, when you close your eyes to go to sleep, ashrams, yoga retreats, things like that. Just straight up sleep and rest could be a thing. So make sure you're resting your brain with all this craziness that's going on, and you should be okay to push through it. Okay, and then for Scorpio and Scorpio rising, Scorpio, this full moon is happening in your 6th house of work, daily routines, health, your subordinates, people that work for you, colleagues, co-workers, people that you see every day, right? Like at your work and things like that. So there's a fulfillment, a completion, and a finalization that's happening. And with Mars ruling this house for you, activating that 12th house eclipse that's happening next month in October. You know, Mars is activating that eclipse point quite heavily, and when Mars activates an eclipse point, there's usually action to be taken. So there's something that needs to be let go, or something that needs to be taken out of the equation. Just be aware that too, Mars being your chart ruler, you could need to rest, but you're not able to rest, especially with that moon there in the 6th house, just because you're going to be emotionally a little bit more volatile and fired up about what's going on as well. Just be aware and be careful, because Mars does rule you. It is activating that eclipse point, so there's something maybe that you're not seeing yet. This could even cause like nightmares, things like that. Or Mars with the South Node, you could be letting go of a way of sabotaging yourself, if that's not applicable to you, right? You could be letting go of an addiction of some kind, or an avenue of escape, right? Because when it comes to the 12th house, if there are addictions, it's usually you just want to escape, right? So with Mars here with the South Node, you could be letting go of even a health routine that's not healthy for you and not allowing you to rest, that type of thing, or letting go of work that you can't rest from. For others of you, this could be the fulfillment and completion of a job, right? Like maybe there's actually something going on here where it's a positive, or even a project for work could be complete and done and over with, and you're like, yes, now I get to rest, right? Because Mars will be coming through your 1st house back into its home sign here rather quickly. And so what's going on here also could have to do with your public reputation and what's going on with Venus up there in the 10th house in sextile with Mars in the 12th. That could be a really nice thing. The thing is, though, is that with Venus squaring Uranus and Mars squaring Pluto, there could definitely be some intense situations or intense conversations or behind the scenes conversations that are happening that are kind of intense. You know this energy of Pluto here in the 3rd house in Capricorn for you, because it's been going on since 2008. And then with Uranus, you know, there could definitely be some wild swings in terms of your contracts, agreements, negotiations. Venus does rule your 7th house, and it's up here in your 10th. So this could be a very public event too that's going on, or a public argument or something like that. It could be, or it could even be liberating yourself from some type of contract or some type of partner or business or personal that no longer serves you as well. That could be a thing there with that Venus energy. The positive energy would be in your 11th house of friends, networks, people that you surround yourself with by choice. It is trining Pluto and Uranus, even though Pluto and Uranus are receiving hard aspects from other planets. Mercury in trine, this is really nice energy, very grounded, very stable, very long-lasting energy, because it's in the earth signs. So your social life could be really stable at the moment. That could definitely be a thing, because these are all social houses. That is what I have for you. And then for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this full moon is happening in your 5th house of joy, fun, play, of sex, of romance, of boyfriends and girlfriends and, you know, sexual partners, that kind of thing. Children, if that's applicable to you. Hobbies, right, if that's applicable to you. Just, this is a very fun, very expressive house. And with the nodes transiting here, you know, this is a north node. It's not an eclipse, but it's a north node lunation. And Mars being, you know, in with the south node activating the eclipse point, there's something that is being activated in terms of your friends, group associations, something that brings you joy. Maybe you're dating a friend, that could be a thing, or maybe you're deciding that who you're dating, maybe there's no more romance and you decide, you know what, maybe we should just be friends. That could be a thing. This could also be something that brings you joy, or a hobby that you do could become, you know, part of your social network, and you're taking action on making that your social alignment, where you're aligning with people that have the same hobbies as you, or aligning yourself with people that have the same ways of expressing themselves as you do. There could definitely be things that are going on in terms of your social status, and even over the internet and the airwaves when it comes to the social media, that with the sun here highlighting this area as well, with the south node, maybe there's something that's coming in from the past, or there's something that is being cut out, or there could be a friend being cut out, right? Like that could definitely be a thing with Mars with the south node in the 11th house. Or there's someone that maybe is being reintegrated back into your life as a friend. That could be a thing too. The other thing that's going on is that Mars is squaring Pluto in your second house. So there's something to do with social media, networks, things like that, that also have some association with your finances because of that square to Pluto down in your second house. There could definitely be arguments or disputes around social media apps maybe and your finances, or friends and finances. With Venus, you know, being over in Leo in the 9th house, and, you know, post retrograde, she's now direct and moving forward in square with Uranus in your 6th house. There could be disruptions in terms of your daily routine because of either a teaching schedule, a learning schedule, an educational pursuit of some kind, or having to travel for work could be a thing for you. There could be a disruption in terms of your work and you're having to travel somewhere for that as well. So these are all areas that are receiving action. The easier energies are going to be in your career, your public standing, your public reputation, because Mercury is here. Mercury is now moving out of shadow and getting ready to move on into Libra. And it's in trine with both Uranus and Pluto at this time. And so there's definitely money being activated for your career and public standing and public reputation, but there's also your daily routines are being activated as well with this trine, in terms of it's a really nice energy of very grounded, very practical, very future oriented, and a very perceptive understanding of your finances and your work and how it is that you're known. It's like you can see everything coming together of, okay, I can make this much money doing this in the public sphere, and I can do it for this long, and I can do this over here in the 6th house. Like I'm going to be on social media, or I'm going to use Chat GPT, or I'm going to, you know, do something like that with that Uranus energy there in the 6th house. So there's definitely some things going on there for you as well. And that's the easier energy. That's you're able to kind of see it all together and how you can go about doing things. Okay. For Capricorn and Capricorn rising, this full moon is highlighting your home, your family, your place of living, your property, where you go, you know, after work, where you go after your working years are done, like retirement. So for some of you, this could be the fulfillment, completion, finalization of, you know, not coming home, or something's being highlighted here on the home front. Like you could be retiring. You could be, for some of you, you could also be, you know, completing a project, or you could be completing something to do in terms of your career and your public standing. because Mars, you know, is activating that 10th house. So maybe there's something that's going on the home front, or there could even be some emotional stuff going on the home front, either with a partner or with a spouse or something like that. And maybe there's a career or a public image that you have that maybe you're cutting out, or you're reintegrating something there back into your reality with this full moon, especially with Mars activating that eclipse. Mars is also squaring Pluto in your first house, so this could definitely be arguments and disputes with bosses as well, or maybe even transforming. You've been transforming your look, and now, you know, with that square, it could, and with the sun here too in the 10th house, it could be as simple as you showing off your new body, right? Like maybe you've been working really hard at transforming your body, and now you're able to put that out there for people to see. That could be a thing. And then with Venus up here in the 8th house, there's been some things going on in terms of revising your partner's resources, whether or not it's business or personal partner's resources, debt, taxes, inheritance, other people's money, loans, insurances, things like that, squaring in the 5th house. This could be power struggles over money to do with children. You know, maybe even your kids are just being wild and crazy and out of control, and you're having to shell out some money for it, or you know, alimony or spousal support or something like that. This isn't the worst energy in the world because it is Venus, it is a positive influence, but you know, there could definitely be some things going on there. Or maybe one of your children is feeling kind of prickly, if that's applicable to you. This could also be power struggles in terms of what you want to do because you want to do it, and maybe there's not enough money for you to do it. You know, Venus has gone through a retrograde here, and it hasn't been the easiest retrograde, and the final square to Uranus is now upon us. So there's definitely, you know, something's coming to an end, but it's coming to an abrupt end. So we'll see how that goes. The positive energy, though, is happening in your 9th house, and with Mercury being coming out of its shadow period, being in trine with Uranus in your 5th and trine with Pluto in your 1st. This is really nice energy. This is kind of where we can catch a little bit of a break, even with that opposition to Neptune. I think that we can really harness seeing the big picture for you, you know, how it affects you specifically, how your worldview, maybe transforming who you are with that Pluto that's gone through your 1st house, transforming who you are. You now have an understanding of who you are in the world and how the world fits together, and have a new viewpoint on life, or religion or dogma or anything like that. And with that trine to Uranus, it's a very exciting energy and feeling alive again. It could have to do with, you know, a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It could have to do with a child. It could have to do with a hobby, those types of things. But that's really nice energy that's going on there. And then for Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this full moon is happening in your 3rd house. So vehicles are being highlighted, your community is being highlighted, you know, short distance trips is being highlighted. There's definitely a push and a pull over wanting to travel longer distances, especially with Mars there in the 9th house and the sun as well. But Mars is activating the eclipse point, so this full moon might feel more like an eclipse just because of that. It's also going to be a little bit more intense with Mars there in that 9th house, but this isn't too bad of energy for you because it is in trine with your ascendant and sextile with your descendant. This full moon is aspecting your ascendant and descendant nicely. You're able to work with this energy. It's going to come a little bit easier for you. The areas that are not going to be so easy, though, could be, you know, Mars is squaring Pluto in from your 9th to your 12th house, and so this could mean that there are things that are keeping you up at night, that maybe are happening overseas, or things that are really bothering you and firing you up, and you're really passionate about something, and it's affecting your sleep, it's affecting your you know, dreams or dream life. It's affecting you getting any type of rest because there's power struggles that are going on, maybe even, you know, behind the scenes, and in your unconscious mind because of what you're seeing at a distance. because, you know, ninth houses are things at a distance from us. And then Venus is in your 7th house, and Venus is post retrograde, now direct, moving forward, squaring Uranus in your 4th house. This could be really disruptive in terms of your relationships with people that you live with. You know, it could be your partner is being disruptive. It could be you're being disruptive to your partner. It just depends on how things have been going for you over this Venus retrograde. So there's definitely some kind of, you know, things that are going on there that need to be smoothed over. This is the final time Venus will square Uranus. So just be aware of that as well. The positives could come from joint finances, taxes, inheritances, insurances, debt, like loans, credit cards, grants even are, I've seen grants in the 8th house. So there could definitely be, you know, money coming in from an outside source. It could even be, maybe there's money coming in from, you know, with Pluto involved, it could be a little bit of an nefarious thing going on. But with Uranus in the 4th house, it could be also to do with like the home, the property, you know, things like that. Things could be going on behind the scenes in terms of home and property, and there could be insurance money that's being collected because of something that happened as well, because, you know, Mercury did go through its retrograde cycle and it's now direct and moving on as well. So that could be a thing for you too. And then Pisces and Pisces rising. This full moon is happening in your 2nd house of finances. So your finances are being highlighted. There could be a way that you're making money that's coming to an end at this point, just because, you know, the moon is in the 2nd house. The full moon is completion, finalization, reevaluation, and letting go. Maybe there's money that has been spent that you've been looking at that maybe you decide, okay, you know what? I'm not making enough money. This is what I'm going to do going forward. I need to make these cuts, these cuts, these cuts, because Mars is in the 8th house. You know, Mars rules your 2nd house. Mars is transiting the 8th house. It's activating an eclipse. So there could be something that is going on in terms of your partner's resources as well. Maybe there's a little bit of a power struggle there going on with, you know, your finances versus your partner's finances. And there's definitely some push and pull going on there. With Mars also, you know, being in square with Pluto, there could be kind of intense situations when it comes to friends, groups, associations, people that you surround yourself with by choice, but also your hopes, your wishes, your dreams, your aspirations, your future goals and orientations. There could be, you know, even like over the internet or over the airwaves, right? The 11th house is also like our social medias and things like that. There could definitely be something that is going on in terms of things that are a little bit more psychologically intense when it comes to that. So just be aware of that as well. And then with Venus being in your 6th house of your work, your daily routines, the things that you do every single day, in square with Uranus in the 3rd house, there could be some really weird communications that are coming in terms of your colleagues, your coworkers, your place of working even. There could be some really crazy communications that come in, but this could be something that is being finalized, where it's like you're getting the final communication about what's going on at work and what's going on with your daily life or your daily routines and things like that. The positives, though, would definitely be the, you know, Mercury in the 7th house, so your partnerships specifically, you know, the people that your business partners or your marriage partners and things like that could definitely be nice energy in terms of relating and talking to, with that trine to Uranus in the 3rd house and that trine to Pluto in the 11th house. So utilizing your friends, utilizing social media, utilizing, you know, communication, utilizing the internet, things like that. There's definitely really nice energy here as well. These would be considered mitigating forces, even though you yourself may not be feeling very clear, or you might feel limited in some way and maybe even a little bit foggy. You know, you can count on your relationships with other people as well to kind of help you through this and communicate with you. So that, ladies and gentlemen, I think I can still say that, people, yeah, that's what I have for you. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you're watching it on my newsletter, thank you so much for subscribing to my newsletter. I'm super excited about that. And if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, thank you so much for watching. Hit like, share, subscribe, please. It helps a business owner out. So thank you so much, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your month.